new here, my name is Dan. This is Flawedoffroad. Today we're talking about recovery gear, and this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen anybody come out with. So this is a snatch block. This is a cheap snatch ring, but neither one of these can do what this Offset Snatch ring from Yankum Ropes can do. So one of the things you're going to notice about this, the hole is not in the center, it is offset. And this is the original intended purpose of this design, was to keep this from spinning. And I'm going to show you why. On this regular centered style snatch block, as your line's going around it, this is going to spin. And you've got a lot of weight on there, especially if you're winching up a hill or something, or a redirecting pole. And you hear that? All that friction is going to be going on the same spot on your soft shackle, and it can melt it eventually and ruin it. So that's why they originally came out with this design, and I'll show you how this works. So you might be wondering, is this going to damage my winch line because now it's creating the friction? But the thing is it's not staying in one spot. It's just continually moving around it. So now for the unintended consequence of this design, the guys at Yankum Ropes figured out that if you add a second one of these to mix to make like a 3-to-1 pole, all of a sudden you can make a 4-to-1 pole and a 5-to-1 pole with just 2 of these snatch rings. So in order to fully unlock the potential of this setup, which you're going to need one more thing, and that's this groove fairly that Yankum has. And the reason is you can't have a hook on the end of your winch line if you're going to go through the hole on the snatch ring. And you actually can't even have the little metal insert that some winch lines have. You can still obviously use this kit in like a 2-to-1, or you can use a second snatch block. You just can't go through the hole to double back to itself. So we're going to start with a 2-to-1, and I'm just going to rig it up each way and show you how you're supposed to rig it up and how cool this really is, because getting a 5-to-1 mechanical advantage, you can turn yourself into a winch with that. Or if you're just doing like a 2-to-1 pole, they actually recommend you just go through here, because this is so wide, that radius is enough to where it's not going to damage these fibers, and this way the line can never fall off of here while you're trying to rig everything up. So for this one, we just went through the hole. In this configuration, 2-to-1, it's basically going to double the winch's power, but it's going to cut the line speed in half. So it actually makes it a more controlled pull and puts less stress on your winch. And that's really all there is to that. From this point forward, we're going to introduce the second snatch block, and we're going to introduce some other stuff. We're also going to pull this out of the hole, and we're going to go around the groove first, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So we're going to go through the groove for the 3-to-1 pole. Now the diagram actually shows it going through the hole on this one, and then you connect it back to the ring itself. If you don't have something else like a tree to hook to, you can hook the end of the line right back to the ring, and that's why we went around the groove first, because if you go through the ring first, then you can't connect back to the ring. It's actually good to split the load up, so if this was the front of a Jeep and the other D-ring was over here, it might actually be beneficial to run that over to there, so you're spreading that load out across 2 recovery points. Did I just drag my table? Oops. Didn't mean to do that. So much like the 2-to-1 pole, this is going to basically cut your line speed into thirds, so 1/3 of the original speed, but it's also going to triple your pulling power. So this is the point where most people would stop. You're not really going to need more than this. In fact, Yankum recommends that only professionals use the 4-to-1 or the 5-to-1 pole, and there's actually something else you need, so I'll show you that now. There's not a lot of situations I can think of to need a 4 or 5-to-1 pole other than moving something extremely heavy. But what you're going to start doing is putting a buttload of pressure on these single soft shackles. So that's where they enter the double soft shackle, so you can double loop everything for the 4 and 5-to-1 poles. Let's see what it says. Max brake strength 45,500 pounds. That's pretty high. Now the thing you also have to be aware of is the toe points on your vehicle or whatever you're hooking to, whether it be a tree or anything else. Because this system, if that's a 12,000 pound winch, if you multiply that by 5, you're talking about 60,000 pounds of pulling force. The first thing it's going to do is pull your vehicle, so you're probably going to need to anchor the back. So you have to know the strengths and limits of what you're connecting to. Now I've switched everything out to the double soft shackles, and we're going to go ahead and rig this up. Now for these ones, there's a diagram right on here that shows you the 4-to-1 and the 3-to-1 pull. It does not have the 5-to-1. Gonna set this up for the 4-to-1 now, so I'll pull that back out through the hole and we'll go around the ring, and you'll see why. It's the same reason we did it on this one. So once again, we hooked that directly back to this ring. That's just the beauty of the versatility of this. There's so many different ways you can do it. Now at any point in this, you can also use this as a redirecting pole as well. At this point, you can no longer hook back to the ring because it's got things everywhere. So you have to come up with another attachment point. I can just hook it right here on this vice handle, but in the real world, you're either gonna need another recovery point on the vehicle, a tree, whatever. But if you look, that's just beautiful. None of these lines are crisscrossing. It's just perfect. That ain't going nowhere. Now the cool thing is, let's say your winch died. You can grab onto this and you're gonna have, it's like 5 guys pulling on this with just you pulling on this. Let's say your winch burns up, you got a foot to go, and you got a buddy with you. That's like the power of 10 people pulling on this. And I'll throw it in neutral and we'll see how easy it rolls. Oh my god, that is stupid easy. So if you get this kit, it's basically a hand winch and a bag. Casey Liddell and 406 Garage did a video where they pulled a Mini Cooper sideways by hand with this, so be sure to check out their videos as well. Now I hate to be Captain Safety Buzzkill, but there's actually one more thing you're going to do if you're ever going to use the 4-to-1 or the 5-to-1 pull, and I'll grab it real quick. These are safety slings, and basically what it is like winch line that's about, I don't know, 8 feet long or so. What does it say? 7/16 rope by 10 foot, 22,000 pound brake strength. And it does have this nice sleeve on here, but the purpose of this is to actually, you hook this in to this shackle, and then you run this underneath and like wrap it around your axle with a soft shackle, and then in the event that this breaks, instead of going flying 100 feet and going through your friend's windshield, it'll get to the end of this rope, ding, and it'll stop it. It's a safety catch. The kit that I got does come with 2 of these, so you can actually run one on each attachment point, so you can put the other one here if this is another vehicle or whatever. It's just about safety. I know safety is boring sometimes, but you know, if you've ever been around when somebody got seriously injured, you'll really start to second guess that mentality. So here you can see I hooked that safety sling up to the shackle here, ran it down, just went around my axle tube with a soft shackle, and that's that. You can also connect it like this if you don't have an extra soft shackle. Now we're gonna head out to the farm and find something heavy to pull with this setup. Which one you think I should pull? All kinds of junk back here. Sorry about the wind, guys. This here's our first pull subject. It has 4 flat tires. Some of the rims are buried in the mud. We got a bed full of junk. Looks to be an early 90s, late 80s Ford F-150. So we're gonna see if a single pull can just drag this thing sideways. Not super happy about it though. Alright, so now we've got it rigged up 2-to-1. 1 snatch block through the hole. Back to the Jeep. Let's try this again.
Well, that didn't do much better. Just pulling my Jeep forward. All right, we're gonna try this again. I changed angles. I got the 3-to-1 pull. I got myself anchored off to this old truck, so we're at a little bit of a angle that I didn't want to pull from, but it is what it is. Okay, so we've got the 4-to-1 rigged up now, so we go around through the hole. And I did go ahead and hook up my safety sling down to the axle to see how it does. So while it did pull it on the 3-to-1, I don't know if you could hear, but my winch was really struggling. You could hear like even the engine on my Jeep idling down and stuff. So I'm hoping that by increasing this, the winch just operates easier, because that thing's not light, and with them flat tires and being in the soft ground, yeah. I'll give you guys a view from here this time.
So I'm running the Badlands ZXR winch. It's actually pretty slow. I think it's only about half the speed of the Apex or like a Warren winch. So it is a little bit slow going, but it gets the job done on a budget.
And it's sucking my voltage down too. Usually this runs at 14.2 and it's sucking it way down. I was getting down to my last wrap here and I wasn't going to be able to reach the 5th leg. So what I did is I pulled out another, this was like my tree saver that I had, just another recovery strap. I tied it in. I tried running it all the way to the frame, but I didn't like how it looked. Look at her go, baby, look at her go! God, this thing is freaking cool. All right, so now I'm back down this hill so I can spool my windshield back up tight. That's how far we dragged it. That was not an easy pull. Oh, if anything, it kind of looks like I straightened him up.
See that? That's the elephant in the room. Let's talk about some of the concerns I've been seeing online about this setup.
Concern number 1, if your winch line is taking all the friction on this ring, surely it's going to heat up and damage your line. Well, guess what? I already went out and tested that with a heat gun. Okay, now it's temp gun time. It's in the 80s right now. So this line has not been through the snatch block yet, but it is in the sun. 90 degrees, 91 degrees, 102, just depends on where you point it at. Right here just went around this. 103, 98. So like virtually no difference in temperature. Let's check up here. It just went through this. So that would be right here versus right here. 94, 96, 99, 109, 116, 112, 109. So this is far under the operating temp.
So I was curious how warm you can get this winch line to. According to this, the HMPE max operating temp is about 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 93 Celsius, and the melting point is about 148 degrees Celsius, which is 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think adding 10 or 20 degrees to the line isn't going to hurt nothing.
Concern number 2. If you're making a 5-part pull, you're really not going to be able to go very far with it because you only have so much winch line on the spool. And that's right, my line is 75 foot long. It's 7/16 line, which is actually one size bigger than the standard. The standard for Jeeps is actually 3/8. The good news is that kit that I've been telling you about comes with another 75 foot winch extension. It is going to be tricky if you're going to try to rig that in with here to get it to where it's not going to go around or through one of these. But if you're making a really long pull, you could hook it on at the very end as your last piece.
Concern number 3, if you run this through this or through this center hole of this snatch ring, that it's going to flatten out your winch line. I want to show you something, guys.
If you've had synthetic rope for any amount of time and you've done some hard pulls on it, what you're going to notice is that when you wind this up tight back on the drum, it's flattening it right there anyway. This stuff bounces back like you wouldn't believe. It does have a bit of an oval shape right now just from being tightly wound up on the drum. This part hasn't even gone through the snatch block. You can take any part of this winch line and it's kind of like a Chinese finger trap. The minute you get the tension off of it, look at that, it's back to being perfectly round. This is what I was talking about earlier about the flat rope. Being on here tight flattens your rope anyway, so I don't know why anybody would worry about it getting flat and going around the snatch ring.
So number 4, why do I even need this kit? And it seems like it's complicated, blah, 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 blah. First of all, if you clicked on this video, my guess is you're actually kind of intrigued by this system, or that you are intrigued by recovery gear. You like having the best stuff. So that's my main reason. And when I saw this setup, I knew I had to have it because I just like having cool stuff like this. Now, if you are concerned about the price, I do have a discount code. You can save 10% on any of this stuff. I'm not trying to make a big sales pitch here, but it seems like a natural transition to that. And when you use that code, it actually does give me a little commission, and that is what I use to even buy this stuff, so that I can make these videos and let you guys see it before you buy it. So it's kind of like a big symbiotic circle of life, and everybody wins. When I see someone broke, I want to stop and help them. If they're stuck, I want to get them out, and I just like having my options. So you guys just have to decide what's best for you. Now, you can get this stuff, there's different levels of this package, and the one I'm showing you here today is like the highest level one that comes with everything, but you can get this stuff individually as you can afford it and add to the system as you go. So the next thing to cover is friction loss, and it's no secret, you know, when you're dragging a rope across a snatch block, you are going to have some friction loss, and I think I read it was estimated 2 to 4%.
Math is power!
But also, you're doubling your power every time, so it's more than making up for whatever little bit of loss there is. Not to mention, if you use a normal snatch ring like this, it also has friction loss. It's not from the rope, but it's creating resistance dragging against that soft shackle as it spins. One could argue that even this has a little bit because there's no bearing inside of it. It's just this wheel spinning against that. I don't even think there's a bushing in there. You can hear that. So I don't think that's really anything to worry all that much about, because you can more than overcome that with the ability to double and triple and so on. So like I said before, Yankum Ropes has some kits. These come in. Now there's 3 different kits. I'm gonna put them right here on the side. I think the one's called the Weekender, one's called the Essential, and one's called the Professional. This kit that I have is the Professional, so it comes with everything. And that's the only one that comes with 2 of these rings to make the 5-to-1 pull. The other ones just come with 1 and some of this other stuff. So basically what we have here is 2 of the normal shackles, 2 of the rings, we have 2 of the double loop soft shackles, 2 of the safety catch slings, plus a 75-foot winch line extension to help this go farther, and pretty high quality tree saver strap. I believe this one's a 10-footer. Nope, 8-footer. Honestly, this stuff is super innovative. It's really high quality stuff, and it is made in America, obviously. America! Yeah! So this Professional kit's gonna set you back quite a bit, there's no doubt about it, but if you want the ability to be able to do all this stuff, I think it's well worth it. So I'm going to put a link down below that's going to be directly to this product page, and there's a drop down menu you can pick between the 3 kits, see what they all cost, and go from there. It also comes with this super killer storage bag to carry it all in, and it's actually way bigger than it needs to be, so you can hold other stuff in here, other recovery gear. You can fit your kinetic rope in here. So I'd be super curious to hear what your guys' concerns or thoughts is on this. But for now, that's going to be all. Don't forget to look up here if you want to see what I bring off-road, and look down here if you want to check out my video on the Groove Fair Lead. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.